Let's be real for a second. Most people don't even have $500 saved up for emergencies. That's not some random statistic, that's the reality for a lot of people. Think about it. One flat tire, one unexpected medical bill, or even just a temporary job loss can completely wipe you out financially if you're not prepared. I learned this the hard way a few years ago. My car broke down, needed a major repair, and I was freaking out about making rent that month. That whole situation was a huge wake-up call. It made me realize I needed to stop simply reacting to financial emergencies and start proactively preparing for them. That's when I decided to get serious about building an emergency fund. Look, I get it. Talking about emergency funds isn't exactly the most exciting thing in the world. It's not something that gets your heart racing or makes for thrilling conversation at a dinner party, but trust me, it's important. It's one of those things that, while it may seem mundane, can make a world of difference in your life. We live in a world where unexpected expenses pop up all the time. Your car breaks down and suddenly you're faced with a hefty repair bill. Your phone dies and you need a new one, which can be a significant expense if you're not prepared. Your job decides to downsize. These things happen, and they rarely come with a warning. It's not just about the big things either. Even smaller unexpected costs can add up quickly. Without an emergency fund, these unexpected events can completely derail your finances. You might find yourself scrambling to cover costs, feeling stressed and overwhelmed. You're forced to go into debt, which can be a slippery slope. Maybe put it on a credit card with high interest, which only adds to your financial burden over time. Or worse, you might have to miss paying important bills, which can have serious consequences. Having even a small emergency fund gives you a safety net. It's a buffer that can help you navigate through tough times without falling into financial despair. It's like that feeling of relief when you know you've got a spare tire in your trunk. You hope you never have to use it, but it's comforting to know it's there. If you get a flat, it's not the end of the world. You're prepared. You can handle it without too much hassle. That peace of mind, that feeling of being financially secure, that's what an emergency fund can give you. It's about knowing that you have a plan in place for the unexpected. It takes away the stress and anxiety of what if, and lets you breathe a little easier, knowing you've got your bases covered. You can focus on other aspects of your life without that constant worry. I remember when I first started taking this seriously. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. I was living paycheck to paycheck, barely scraping by. Every little expense felt like a mountain to climb. I thought, an emergency fund? That's for people with money, not for me. I couldn't see how I could possibly save anything. But the truth is, it's for everyone. It doesn't matter how much you make, it's about making a commitment to your financial well-being. It's about taking control of your finances, no matter how much you're making. Start small, be consistent, and over time you'll build a cushion that can make all the difference. Here's the thing, building an emergency fund isn't just about the money, it's about making a mental shift. Before I started, my mindset was always, okay, I'll pay my bills and whatever's left over, I'll try to save. But let's be honest, there's rarely anything left over, right? So, I flipped the script. Instead of saying, I'll save what's left, I started saying, I'll spend what's left after I save. It seems like a small change, but it's huge. I made saving a non-negotiable expense, just like my rent or my phone bill. Every time I got paid, I'd automatically transfer a small amount, even if it was just $10 or $20, into my separate savings account specifically for emergencies. No excuses. No debating with myself about whether I could afford it. It was just automatic. What I realized is that if you wait until saving feels comfortable, you'll never start. There's always going to be something else to spend your money on. But by making saving a priority, a non-negotiable part of your budget, you're telling yourself that your financial security matters. Now I know what you're thinking, Graham, that's great and all, but where am I supposed to find this extra money to save? It feels like every penny is already accounted for, right? Trust me, I get it. Listen, I've been there. When I started, I wasn't exactly rolling in dough. In fact, I was living paycheck to paycheck just like many of you. I had to get creative, but it wasn't about making drastic changes overnight. It was about taking small, manageable steps that would add up over time. It was about finding small, sustainable ways to free up some cash. I started by examining my daily habits and expenses. One of the first things I did was go through all my stuff. You'd be amazed at how much clutter we accumulate over the years. I'm talking clothes I hadn't worn in years, old electronics collecting dust, books I'd already read, and I sold them. It was a win-win. I decluttered my space and made some extra cash. You can do this online through platforms like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or even apps like Poshmark or Depop. The process is straightforward and can be done from the comfort of your home. I was surprised by how much I made just by decluttering. It wasn't a fortune, but it was a start. Every little bit helps. It wasn't a fortune, but it was a start. I made an extra $150 in a month just by selling things I didn't even use anymore. I made an extra $150 in a month just by selling things I didn't even use anymore. That's money that went straight into my savings. Then I started looking for small side hustles I could do in my free time. I wanted to find ways to make money without a huge time commitment. I signed up for a few survey sites, did some freelance writing online, even walked dogs in my neighborhood. These were all things I could do in my spare time. Again, it wasn't about getting rich quick, it was about finding ways to bring in a little extra cash that I could then put directly into my emergency fund. Small, consistent actions can lead to big results over time. Alright, so you're committed to building your emergency fund, you're taking those small but consistent actions. Now let's talk about where to actually keep this money. First and foremost, it needs to be separate from your everyday checking account. You don't want to see it every time you log in to check your balance because that can be tempting. Ideally, you want to put it in a high-yield savings account. Now I know the interest rates aren't mind-blowing right now, but they're better than nothing. Plus, the whole point of an emergency fund is to have it readily available when you need it, and a high-yield savings account gives you that accessibility without locking your money away for a long period. The key here is to find a balance between accessibility and separation. You want to be able to access the money quickly in an emergency, but you also don't want it to be so easy to transfer that you're dipping into it for non-emergency spending. Remember, this is not your fun money account. It's not for a vacation or a new pair of shoes. This is for those unexpected moments when you need cash, and you need it fast. Now let's talk about some common mistakes people make when it comes to emergency funds, things you definitely want to avoid. These pitfalls can derail your financial stability and make it harder to recover from unexpected expenses. By being aware of these common errors, you can better safeguard your financial future. First up, do not use a credit card as your emergency fund. It might seem like a quick fix, but it's a trap that can lead to long-term financial problems. I know it can be tempting to think of it as a safety net, but all you're doing is potentially digging yourself into debt. The interest rates on credit cards are notoriously high, and if you're not able to pay off the balance quickly, you could end up paying much more than you initially borrowed. Credit cards should not be your go-to for emergencies. Instead, focus on building a cash reserve that you can tap into when needed. This way, you avoid the stress and financial burden of high-interest debt. They come with high interest rates, and if you're not careful, you can end up paying far more than you originally borrowed. This can create a cycle of debt that's hard to break free from. Another mistake is draining your emergency fund for non-emergency spending. It's crucial to differentiate between wants and needs. Your emergency fund should be reserved for true emergencies like medical expenses, car repairs, or unexpected job loss. It's easy to justify dipping into it for a really good sale or a weekend trip, but resist the temptation. These are not emergencies, and using your fund for such expenses can leave you vulnerable when a real emergency arises. Remember what this money is for. It's a safety net designed to protect you during unforeseen circumstances. Keeping this in mind will help you stay disciplined and avoid unnecessary withdrawals. It's there to protect you, to give you peace of mind, not to fund your latest impulse purchase. Think twice before you dip into your emergency fund for something that isn't truly urgent. And lastly, don't set unrealistic goals that will only set you up for failure. It's important to be realistic about what you can achieve. Setting the bar too high can lead to frustration and discouragement. You don't need to have $10,000 saved overnight. Building an emergency fund takes time and patience. Start with small, manageable goals that you can achieve without putting too much strain on your finances. Start small. Start with what you can realistically afford to put aside each week or month. Even small contributions add up over time and can make a big difference in the long run. Even if it's just $10, that's $10 more than you had before. Consistency is key here. Regularly contributing to your emergency fund, no matter how small the amount, will help you build a solid financial cushion over time. So, you're probably wondering, Graham, what does your emergency fund look like now? Well, I'm not gonna lie, it's evolved over the years as my income and expenses have changed. Right now, I keep a $1,000 cash buffer in a high-yield savings account. This is my just-in-case money for those smaller, unexpected expenses. Then, I have a separate crisis fund where I keep 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. This is for those bigger what-if scenarios like a job loss or a medical emergency. I review and adjust these amounts every few months to make sure they're still aligned with my current situation. Now, you don't have to follow my system exactly. The important thing is to find what works for you, your income, and your risk tolerance. But having a system, any system, is crucial. It takes the guesswork out of saving and helps you build that financial security step by step. So, here's your challenge for this week. Save $10, that's it, just $10. Put it in a safe place, away from your everyday spending. Then next week, do it again. It's not about the amount right now, it's about building that habit, that muscle of saving. If someone who used to stress about making rent, could go from broke to having a $1,000 cushion, so can you. Comment below and let me know you're starting your emergency fund today. I'll personally reply to as many of you as I can, and don't forget to subscribe to Wealthy and Productivity Hub for more simple, smart money habits that actually work. Share this video with a friend who needs their first financial win.